Hey everybody, it's Mitch, and welcome to my next video. Today, we are going to be doing another Dungeons & Dragons 3.5 video, and today we are going to be talking about two-weapon fighting, or as some call it, dual wielding. So, we're going to be talking all about the rules behind two-weapon fighting. We're going to be talking about how to actually make it effective. Stick around. So, basically, let's start off with the rules, which are fairly simple. Initially your rules are, in order to use, whenever you use two weapons, one in your primary hand and one in your offhand, you are going to incur a penalty, because it's harder to do that than using one weapon in one hand and a shield in the other hand. It's just harder. I know I'm not holding anything. It's probably super confusing, my hand motions. Anyways, so normal penalty rules. You're going to take a -6 penalty in your primary hand and a -10 in your offhand. That is absolutely massive. By no means should you ever do this unless you have no choice. This is a terrible option. You're probably better off just not having a weapon in your offhand than taking those penalties, because that's crazy. There are ways to mitigate this. Now, the first way is there is a feat called two-weapon fighting. If you take this feat, you are going to have those penalties reduced considerably. Well, reduced a fair amount. The feat will lower the penalties in each hand by 2. So that's not bad. So instead of a -6 and -10, you're looking at a -4 and a -8. Still not great. Now, another thing I should mention is you are only going to get one attack with your offhand, not 2, just 1. There are feats that can allow you to take more. Actually, the later two-weapon fighting feats. Surprise, surprise. Now, the way that can reduce it even more is if you have a one-handed weapon in your primary hand, or a light weapon, doesn't matter. But if the weapon in your offhand is a light weapon and not a one-handed weapon, your penalties are much lower. The penalties for that are instead going to be, it's going to reduce the penalties by 6 and 2. So you're going to have 2 less in the primary hand. So instead of that -6, it'll be a -4. And it'll be 6 less in the offhand, so that again will be a -4. So it's a -4 and -4. Now, if you have the feat and are doing that, it's a -2 and -2, which is not terrible. -2 isn't the end of the world. You see that for pretty much any kind of good attack option, like the Ranger's rapid attack, rapid shot, pretty standard stuff. And not bad at all. You can dual wield ranged weapons as well. Doing so does require that the ranged weapon be usable in one hand. That does limit you a bit. Like, you can't use a bow. You can use crossbows, but you cannot load crossbows while dual wielding them. So you get one shot and then you have to drop them or something. Because you can't. Dual wielding crossbows doable, but not sustainable without special methods. So other things you can do, you can't dual wield a sling, because you do need that hand to load the bullets. You can do the same thing with a crossbow, dual wield them with preloaded bullets, and then just that's it after that. But thrown weapons work though. If you're just picking up and throwing things, you can dual wield that. Now, where you're gonna have the things that you're throwing, that's another issue. But if you're throwing knives or something, where are you keeping all these knives? You got to keep that kind of stuff in mind. But we're gonna be focusing more on melee weapons than the ranged, just because, but they follow the same rules with range as melee. Now, some things to note are reasons why you would definitely want a light weapon in your offhand, and that is well, you don't really gain a lot of benefit from it. So normally you can add your primary hand, if it's a one-handed weapon, you can add your strength bonus to it, your full strength bonus to the damage, and that is nice. You get a bunch of extra damage. That can be quite helpful. Now with your offhand, you can only add half. Well, with the light weapon, you can only add half, and with a light weapon, you can also only add half, whether it's a primary, whether it's a one-handed or a light weapon. So with your offhand, you're gonna want a light weapon because you're not gonna get the strength bonus anyways. The only reason why you might want that there is just if you're taking a lot of feats, then for proficiencies and all that stuff, then there's some reason to have a one-handed in both. That way you get the abilities, but honestly it's not even really worth it, because those minus that -8 penalty that you're effectively getting 2 and 6, not super worth it. So probably better to do one hand to do a light weapon and a one-handed weapon, or 2 light weapons. Now with 2 light weapons, you're not going to get full strength in either hand. You're only going to get half strength with both weapons, but you are going to have other advantages with that. Now if you want to do this effectively, you are going to want bonus damage, because you're going to be spending a lot of feats on this. You're going to be wanting all 3 two-weapon fighting feats: two-weapon fighting, improved two-weapon fighting, and greater two-weapon fighting. You will want all 3 of those, because they are all very important. Two-weapon fighting, it lowers those penalties. Improved two-weapon fighting lets you make a second attack with your offhand during a full attack, and greater two-weapon fighting will let you make a third attack. Now, fourth attack's a little harder to get. You're going to start needing to get into like epic feats in order to be able to do that. But it is doable. But still, that's a lot of feats that you're going to be spending just to be able to get all these attacks. So, little problematic. It's definitely some issues with that. Now, another option that's similar is to use one weapon in 2 hands, just a really big weapon. With that, you're going to be doing 1.5 times strength, and one thing where that one really shines is power attack, because you can't really power attack effectively with when you're dual wielding, but you can when you are you can power attack very effectively while wielding one weapon in 2 hands. So yeah, you're gonna just be more effective. Plus, using one weapon in 2 hands doesn't take any special training. You don't need any feats to be able to do that, so it's a lot less resource intensive to do that. So two-weapon fighting, it's kind of problematic for that reason. Now, it does shine in certain areas, particularly if you're doing extra damage, like if you happen to be a rogue or something and you have a lot of sneak attack damage. Now, that sneak attack you can get on all your attacks, and you don't usually have that much strength to add anyways, and you're generally not power attacking, so you're going to be doing way more damage because you're going to be getting a lot more sneak attacks in the same turn potentially, if you set things up right. Now, if you're doing any other sort of extra damage, if you happen to have like a bard with Dragonfire Inspiration doing adding a ton of damage to every attack, that can be really powerful. Generally, that's going to be something like if one of the other players in your party has that. So don't ever count on that one, since that one's a little outside your control. But if one of your other party members has gone that route, dual wielding or two-weapon fighting is a much more feasible option. There's all sorts of other stuff, like if you're doing ability damage with your attacks, so if you have something that does ability damage, typically that's on crits, that'll help out a lot. So that can be useful as well. Yeah, basically you're going to want something that has a lot of attack options. Another thing that I guess could potentially work is if you happen to have Vorpal weapons. Now that's a super expensive option, and I'm not sure if this one's the most worth it, but if you happen to have like 2 Vorpal swords, then yeah, I guess that can work, because the more attacks you have, the more likely you are to land that crit, to land that nat 20 and confirm the crit, which is just an instant death for your opponent. And it's not a death effect, it's beheading. So the only way to be immune to Vorpal is to either be immune to crits or not die from, or be immune to death by decapitation. So, if you can survive not having a head, then yeah. But that's pretty hard to be immune to. Like, that's not something you can really pick up. You really just need the right creature type for that one, which is hard. I mean, I guess maybe if you picked up like Lich or something, I'm not sure if they need that. So I guess that's one way to get it, but you got to take some pretty, I'm not even sure if that works or not, but anyways, you would need some pretty extreme methods in order to become immune to Vorpal, other than, just getting immune to crits. That's a much more easy way to do it. You just, get fortified armor. Problem solved. But yeah, Vorpal's not really the best way, in all honesty, since it is a +5 modifier, which is kind of nasty. Super, super expensive, especially to put on 2 weapons. Yeah, it's going to be more likely if you're getting more attacks, but that's a lot of weapons. That's a lot of money that you're going to be dishing out. You're going to be spending a huge portion of your financial resources trying to do this. But yeah, if you have any sort of other thing that does a lot of bonus damage, for whatever reason, maybe your party's has a lot of stuff that gives bonus damage that isn't going to really get the full benefit, with a power attack from, just using like a great axe or something. Yeah, those will get the benefits too, but getting that on half the attacks is less than getting it on twice the attacks. So yeah, that's basically my my guide to dual wielding, or 2-weapon fighting. So hopefully you found that helpful. If you did, consider giving it a like to help make sure other people can see this. Maybe share the video with anybody you know who's considering it. Subscribe to the channel for more D&D 3.5 videos. And ring that notification bell, because YouTube is terrible about giving notifications. But anyways, as always, I'm Mitch, and I'll be seeing you